Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. We are going to start topic 2 today and I will discuss gradient, intercepts and different forms of the equation of a straight line. So let's start with gradient. What do we mean by the gradient of a linear function or a straight line? The gradient, also called slope, it shows us how steep the line is. We also represent this by this letter M, and it shows us how the y changes when we change the x values. You can see from this line that if I make the line steeper, it's giving me higher values of M. You can see, you can look at the values of the gradient from here, and you can check that as I move this up, I'm making the line steeper, right? So when I do that, it's giving me a high value of M. So the steeper the line, the higher the gradient. We also represent this as rise over run, where rise means how many units you move up or down, and run means how far left or right you move from point to point. Now, if you consider this line, let me take any two random points from this line, but it's better if you take 2 points that are easy to read. So I'm going to take this point and that point. Now I'm going to look at rise. From 2, I moved to 4. That means I moved up by positive 4. That is why my rise is positive 4. If you move up, the rise is positive, and if you move down, the rise is negative. Now let's look at the run. From this point to this point, I moved to the right by 1 unit. That means my run is positive 1. The same goes for run. If you go to the right side, it's positive, and if you go to the left side, it is negative. So my gradient, the gradient of this line or the slope of this line equals to just 4. Now, what if I change the slope of the line and make it something like this? What about the rise of this line? I'm going to take this point and this point because it's kind of easy to read. So from this point, you are actually moving down by 2 units. When you are moving down, that means your rise is negative. I'm going to write -2 over the run. From here to this point, you move to the right by 2 units. Since you move to the right, that means your run is positive 2. This will give us -2 over positive 2 equals to -1, which is the same thing as this value. So you can see that it really doesn't matter what points you take. As long as you do it correctly, you should get the same gradient. So this is how you can find calculate gradient by using this thing, rise over run. Okay, now how do you understand if a gradient is positive or negative? If you look at this positive slope, when you're moving to the right, you are going up. That's why the gradient is positive. But for lines like this, when you move to the right, you are actually going down. That means the gradient is negative. But what if I have something like this? What about this line? The gradient of this line equals to 0 because it's just flat. It doesn't have any slope. That's why you can, if you see a flat line, you can just write the gradient equals to 0. Then we have this line, which is just a vertical line. And what about the gradient of this line? We know that gradient equals to rise over run, right? You can see that it's just a straight line. There is like rise, it's just all the values of y. But for run, it's just here. It's just at 1 point. That means there is no change in run. So when there is no change, that means the change in run is just 0. Now you can't divide anything by 0. That's why we say the slope for this kind of line is undefined. The slope is undefined. We don't know what this is because you can't divide anything by 0. So to summarize, to remember, if you want to remember the signs of the slopes, just without calculating anything, you can do this. If your graph looks like this, the gradient is always going to be negative. If the line looks like this, the gradient is going to be positive. If your line is a vertical line, that means the slope is undefined. And if your line is a flat line, that means the gradient is 0. This is how you can remember the signs when you want to write the equation of a straight line. Okay, He looks pretty unhappy, probably because I'm using him to explain something in math. Anyways, so now that we know about the gradient, let's see how can you write the equation of a straight line by using the gradient. Okay, let me change it to this, something like this, and I'm going to show you how to find the equation of a straight line. Equation of a straight line can be written in this form, which is y equals to mx plus b. Now you can also use c as well. It doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. Some people use mx plus c, some people use mx plus b. I'm going to use this, but it doesn't matter. We already know how to find the m, but what about the b? What is this? Or the c? This is called the y-intercept. Y-intercept is the point where your graph touches the y-axis, just this point, and you can see that for this line the graph is touching at 2, like the y-axis. That means the y-intercept of this line equals to 2, and the gradient of this line is 2 as well. So you can write the equation of this line equals to y equals to 2x, m equals to 2, and the b is 2 as well, because the graph is crossing the y-axis at y equals to 2. This form is called the slope-intercept form, our first form, or the gradient-intercept form, and it's always in this form, y equals to mx plus b or y equals to mx plus c. Okay, now let me show you how you can find the equation of straight lines by just using two sets of points. Let's say we have a line that is passing through these two points. One point is 3 and 7 and the other point is 5 and 11. Okay, now y equals to mx plus b. We need to figure out the value of m and the value of b. Let's find the m first. M equals to, we know that this is the change in y over the change in x, which is the same thing as rise over run. Now you have to assign variables to it: x1, y1, x2, and y2. It doesn't matter which one is your x1 and which one is your x2, but if you make this x1, this has to be y1. This can't be y2. So x1, y1, and this one is x2, y2. So for y values, from 7 you move to 11. That means the change in y is 4. You can write 11 minus 7 equals to 4. For the run, from x equals to 3 you move to x equals to 5. That means the run is 2 in the positive direction, and this is how you can get it: 5 minus 3, which equals to 2. That means the gradient of this line is 4 over 2, which is just 2. So you can also say that this gradient equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You could also take this one as x2 and this one as y2, this one as x1 and this one as y1. You would have the same numbers, the same values, so whatever you want to use. This is how you can find the gradient of this line, and I can write y equals to 2x plus b, but I still need to know the value of b. How to do that? You can take any of these points. You can either take this or that, it doesn't matter, to get the value of b. I'm going to take this one. This looks easier. My y is 7, so I'm just going to write 7 equals to 2 times, and my x is 3 plus b. 2 times 3 is 6. It's 7 equals to 6 plus b. That means if you move the 6 to the other side, this will give you 1. Your b is 1 in this case. That means the slope of the equation of this line equals to 2x plus 1. Okay, this is how you can find the equation of a line by using two sets of points only. Now this is our slope-intercept form. How can we change slope-intercept form and write it in general form? General form of a line is always in this, written like this: ax plus by plus d equals to 0. It just means that you move all the values of x and y and the number in one side, and other side you don't have anything. So if you look at this question, I have y equals to 2x plus 1. I will keep the 2x and 1 in this side, and I will just move the y to the other side. This will give me 0 equals to 2x, and then positive y. If you move it to the other side, this will become negative y. plus 1. This is how you can write in slope-intercept, general form. Okay, so this is our second form. This is our first form. And then another form that we need to know is the point gradient form or point slope form. That's always written like this. It's written like y minus y1 equals to m times x minus x1. I already know the m for this, which is just 2. Now for y1 and x1, you can just take any 2 points. It doesn't matter. You could take this one or that one. You will get the same answer. Okay, I'm going to take this 3 and 7. So that means my y1 is 7 and x1 is just 3. And you can just leave it like that. Okay, now what if we have the gradient and we just have one set of point? Like for example, we know that the the gradient of a line is 1 over 3, and this line is passing through the point 1, 2. How to find the equation for this line? Okay, I'm going to show you this slope-intercept form first, which is y equals to mx plus b, and I already know my m is 1 over 3. I'm just going to substitute this 1 over 3 right here plus b. Now I still need to find this b, and I have one set of point already. I'm just going to substitute x equals to 1 and y equals to 2 into this equation. This will give me 2 equals to 1 over 3. X is just 1 plus b, which is 2 equals to 1 over 3 plus b. I want to find the value of this. I'm going to move this to the other side. That will give me 2 minus 1 over 3 equals to b. Now the denominator, it's not the same, so you have to make it the same. I'm going to write 3 over here, and you also need to multiply 3 to the top. This will give you 6 over 3 minus 1 over 3, and 6 minus 1 is just 5. That equals to 5 over 3, because the denominator is just 3. That means the b for this line is 5 over 3. So you can write y equals to 1 over 3x plus 5 over 3. This is the equation of your line. This is my slope-intercept form. How do I change it to the general form? Let's see. Now, most of the time when they ask you to find the general form, they will ask you to write it in this form. Write it like this, and they will ask you to make a, b, d integers. That means you can't have a number like this. So if you want to change this to general form, this is what you need to do. I'm just going to write this equation first, and I'm going to write just 1, 3 so that I can move it to the other side. Now I have y equals to x plus 5 over 3, but I don't want any integers, so I'm going to move this to that side. And you can just move it to that side. This will be 3y equals to x minus 5. Now feel free to move this 3y to the other side, and this will give you x minus 3y plus 5 equals to 0. Okay, so this is how you can change it to general form. Now the last form, that is slope-intercept form, that is kind of easy because you know that y minus y1. Okay, let me write the equation first. We know that the gradient of this line is 1 over 3, and the x and y, you just have one set of points, so all you need to do is just substitute. The point is x equals to 1 and y equals to 2. I'm just going to write y1 as 2 and x1 as 1. Okay, so that will be all for today. This is how you can write equations of lines in different forms. And if you like my video and if you think it's helpful, then don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time. Thank you.